The Urantia book is just a philosophy. It is just a theology. Words on a page, unless you put them into action and into meaning. How many people do you think are out there who have been victims of a crime by somebody who genuinely, wholeheartedly believed in Jesus? Well, there's probably many who at least thought they theologically were following Jesus, that victimized others. But were they truly in their essence, in their spiritual mind? Probably not, or else they wouldn't have victimized another person. So that's why it's not the theology that matters. It really is the supremacy of actions that matter, but we are divine in our purpose. If we want to grow and ascend spiritually in the world and in the universe, every time that we do that, we also save ourselves out of hardship, depression, anxiety. This is the path that we want. This is the only solution to attaining that path, is you're working out your own salvation. The Urantia book can give you tips and tools about that, and it can truly inspire you to do so more than anything else on the planet. But it is just a means to an end. However, it is the most important means to the end on the planet. What is the true end? That is that supremacy of action with a divinity of purpose, folks. But it does require the actions. So theology alone doesn't get it. You got to go to the next level, folks. And that's what we're looking at today. Concepts of Supreme Value, page 1096, under Religion and Human Experience. So let's see what this divine revelation is about concepts of supreme value. And then how can we put this in action to not only help save ourselves out of the hardship, but also upstep our fellow humans. Religion is not a technique for attaining a static and blissful peace of mind. It is an impulse for organizing the soul for dynamic service. How profound is just even that one statement? Let's look at it again. Religion is not a technique for attaining a static and blissful peace of mind. It is an impulse for organizing the soul for dynamic service. Remember, you're service-oriented. If you're really truly doing this for the mastery of all, that's how you're going to attain it. For as you master yourself, you master the world around you. As you change yourself, you change the world around you. That's a service, folks, to not make a victim out of another person in this day and age. Like I said, you don't need to start the next church or be the next Mother Teresa. Just simply going through your life without leaving a trail of toxins and victims of just maybe it's a little infliction or wound that you'll give to somebody because you're acting out of your own lower nature. Well, you're definitely not doing them a service. So think of that as your service, people. Being able to, as somebody smites you, to not smite them back. Now remember, the Master Jesus said, turn the other cheek, right? And we should do that. But he didn't say turn it again and again and again. You have to draw that line. You have to draw that boundary and say, no, I'm not going to accept this toxin from you. It doesn't mean that you have to give it back, but you just say, no, this is no longer for me. Because if you don't and you take on too much of that, then you're going to be the victim that has to then victimize another because you're weak. Because you need that outlet. That's why victims victimize others. All right. It is the enlistment of the totality of selfhood in the loyal service of loving God and serving man. Remember, totality of selfhood. So anybody that wants to deny diet, hey, that's a huge part of who you are. People say, yeah, I want to do everything except for diet. That's not the totality of your selfhood. You really have to get down to those nitty-gritty type of details. Remember, we're looking for a real true mode of spiritual living here, people. Religion pays any price essential to the attainment of the supreme goal, even if that price means letting go of your favorite T-bone steak, or even if that, whatever, anything, any price. Look at the supreme goal, the eternal prize. And the pace belongs to you. If you want to experience all that you can attain in this life, in this world, all that's available to a human being is available to you right here and now. There is a consecrated completeness in religious loyalty, which is superbly sublime. And these loyalties are socially effective and spiritually progressive. It's not destroying social activities. You don't need to be a hermit. They bolster social effectiveness, in fact. To the religionist, the word God becomes a symbol signifying the approach to the supreme reality and the recognition of divine value. To a I mean, when they say religionist, folks, they're talking about somebody who's not just a theologist, somebody who really is living this. Look at, that's what religion is. They're revealing what a true religion is here. Not one of man's religions. It's not saying to the Buddhist or to the Catholic or anything. It doesn't matter. That's because, look at, that's just the outside word symbol for it. That's why that doesn't matter. It's the ideals, not the ideas. Human likes and dislikes do not determine good and evil. So huge. These are things that are more essential than the human mind, more fundamental than the human mind. Postmodernism would say that, hey, this guy likes this guy likes that. Who's to say which is right? Moral values do not grow out of the wish fulfillment or emotional frustration. In the contemplation of values, you must distinguish between that which is value and that which has value. You must recognize the relation between pleasurable activities and their meaningful integration and enhanced realization on an ever progressively higher and higher levels of human experience. Maybe a good example would be something like your dog, for instance. Your dog might have value because you're having this loving kind of association with an animal who you recognize as a sentient being with feelings, but it isn't value. The value there is love. That which is value is the love. Meaning is something which experience adds to value. It is the appreciative consciousness of values. Remember, meaning is of the mind. That's the consciousness appreciating that which is more fundamental than the mind, which is the values, love. Those are the things of the spirit. And then remember, that which is thing is only a thing. It requires a mind to give it a meaning. An isolated and purely selfish pleasure may connote a virtual devaluation of meanings, a meaningless enjoyment bordering on relative evil. Okay, so it can even border on it. It might not be fully embraced within it, depending on the thing, how sordid you're getting with it. Values are experiential when realities are meaningful and mentally associated, when such relationships are recognized and appreciated by mind. So again, we're talking this totality of our self. The mind is only one level. Remember, we have two minds, folks. It's important to remember we have two natures, a higher and lower nature, but only one will. We can only act from one of them in any one situation. We have two minds, a higher and lower mind, and we can only act from one of them in any one of our situation. Mastery is deciding on which mind and which will you're going to dwell from in each situation. Now, remember, we're going for a high spiritual ideal here in life. In that high spiritual ideal is self-mastery, self-restraint, and self-control, self-discipline. Values can never be static. Reality signifies change, growth. Change without growth, expansion of meaning, and exaltation of value is valueless, is potential evil. So that's why we say truth is living, because remember, these values are stemming from the divine in every moment. This is a moment-to-moment faith walk, as the Zen masters understood. Your Eckhart Tolles and living in the moment and all that sort of thing, because that's where truth is. The past is dead, the future is imaginary, but all is happening in the eternal now moment. So it's about walking step by step, moment by moment, in this thing. Don't get so far ahead of yourself that you're starting to predict futures that might not be there. The greater the quality of cosmic adaptation, the more of meaning any experience possesses. So we're not talking about, non-reality. I mean, we're talking about reality here, folks. This isn't just wishful thinking or anything like this. It might take a faith until you experience it firsthand. It will take a faith walk. Then you realize that this truly is the truth that we're adapting to, and that's what this book is teaching us about. So don't think that this is, you're either going into truth, or you're stagnating, or you're literally going backwards into error, or even worse. Values are not conceptual illusions. They are real. But always, there you go. Values are not conceptual illusions. They are real. But always they depend on the fact of relationships. Exactly. That's why personality is a reality in the universe. If it was all one, hate is love. And that's why, they make mental gymnastics to say that it's not a bad thing when a murderer goes in and shoots a bunch of kids in a school. In the Eastern, they've said this. Eastern mysticism, this abstraction thing. It's not bad because good and bad are the same thing. They're just serving out their karma. So why are you going to mourn over somebody? Those kids were probably murderers in their past life. When you get into this idea as everything's one, there's no such thing as a relationship if all is one, right? All relationships are an illusion if all is one. And that's why you have to make mental gymnastics about those kids serving out their karma from being shot in a school shooting, which is complete preposterous bullshit. It's why people don't want to go into it's why Eastern mysticism hasn't changed the world, because of that philosophic, inconsistency, notwithstanding that they have many right ideas and everything. So this just isn't about, but remember, values depend on the fact of relationships, personalities relating with each other in the universe, not just one big soup of Atman. Values are always both actual and potential, not what was, but what is and is to be. The association of actuals and potentials equals growth, the experiential realization of values. But growth is not mere progress. Progress is always meaningful, but it is relatively valueless without growth. We've made a lot of progress here in this society, all of our technologies, but what value has it really gotten anybody? Geez, life expectancy is now going down. That's not growth, that's backwardness. It's progress in many ways, but it's not real value. The supreme value of human life consists in growth of values, progress in meanings, and realization of the cosmic interrelatedness of both of these experiences. There's no other way around it. I wish that I could portray that and with any more confidence than this book is portraying it, but I really can't. There's really not the words around to say there's whatever religion, any type of theology you want to attach to it, it's not going to change the truth. Realization of the cosmic interrelatedness of both of these experiences. And such an experience is the equivalent of God consciousness. That's what we're trying to attain here, folks. And when we attain that, everything else melts away. Our anxieties melt away. Our health issues melt away because we're, attaining this on levels that we're doing diet and practical things. Such a mortal, while not supernatural, is truly becoming superhuman. That's what's possible here. That's why this book is a revelation. That's what we're going for. We're not just trying to read and pacify and so forth. Remember, we're trying to take action here. We're trying to take action to change our lives and become superhuman. An immortal soul is evolving. This is possible here and now. You're still human, but it's human but more. That's the main point. And this is what I just had somebody say that they had been reading Urantia book for 45 years. They did an attack on me. They said that I didn't know what I was talking about. They put me down because I didn't have maybe every fact memorized, or I got a fact wrong about the book, something like that. They didn't explain. I said, hey, what's the criticism here? And they didn't want to explain. They just did another put down. Said, well, it would take me months to explain what you're getting wrong about this book. And I mean, why wouldn't you say, if you'd been reading this book for 45 years and there was maybe a guy that's only been reading it for 10, 15 years out there trying to teach it, you'd be like, oh shit, glad this guy is out there trying to, man, it's a great book. You know, hey, you got this wrong, you got this wrong. I've had comments like that, and they're great. Constructive criticisms. And I say, hey, great, thanks. You know, I appreciate your experience. This guy just wanted to do venom on me, toxic venom, to make himself feel better in some way. Or maybe he didn't like the fact that I'm saying we're trying to change our diets, change our lifestyles. We're trying to make these virtuous choices. And he didn't like that because he had an attachment. Whatever. I'm not attacking him. But the point is that he had been the reader for 45 years of this book. Yet he still put me down. And it just makes me think that you can read these things as theologies. You can believe in Jesus as theologies. And you're still not putting it into action. Remember, supremacy of action, concepts of supreme values, folks. Unless you put it into action, nobody cares what the religion of the person that's the murderer. The victim's family is going to be like, well, sure, there's forgiveness for them and all that sort of stuff, and that's a reality, and we all forgive. You know, we should have our higher sense of forgiveness. But if you're not putting your theology into action, the victim is your theology might as well be garbage compared to what that victim is feeling, right? Man cannot cause growth, but he can supply favorable conditions. Growth is always unconscious, people. You can't go to just like go to a you have to grow in character. You can't just go to a seminar. You have to just put this stuff into action. You got to be in the situations. Again, a seminar is just a speech until you put it into action. Be it physical, intellectual, spiritual. Love thus grows. It cannot be created, manufactured, or purchased. It must grow. Evolution is a cosmic technique of growth. Social growth cannot be secured by legislation and moral growth. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Social growth cannot be secured by legislation and moral growth. That's why they say you can't legislate behavior. I mean, you can make things illegal. People are just going to do it illegally in the corners of their own home and whatnot. I mean, you should because, you know, we'd have a lot more crime and things out there, but it's really not changing the behaviors. Moral growth is not had by improved administration. Man may manufacture a machine, but its real value must be derived from human culture and personal appreciation. Man's sole contribution to growth is the mobilization of the total powers of his personality, living faith. And you have to believe it. It's just going to seem too hard. It's going to seem too pointless and all those sort of things until you just really say, you know, I want to believe this. So let's just read this first line, problems of growth. Religious living is devoted living. Okay? Not fanatical living. Making positive choices. You know? Not you know, you need to wear a certain robe or a certain hat. It's be kind. Devoted living is creative living. Original and spontaneous. You see, folks? These are the things we like. We're living moment to moment. Don't put yourself in the future. New religious insights arise out of conflicts which initiate the choosing of new and better reaction habits. This book, well, I mean, putting this book into action, again, not just the theology of it, in place of older and inferior reaction patterns, folks. So that's just really the moral of the story. Supremacy of action, divinity of purpose. You need those. You need to make those supreme actions here and now because we're trying to go for a high spiritual ideal. And if somebody isn't, that's fine. That's where they're at. I don't need to, berate them or let them berate me. It's just where they're at. We just wish them the best, and all we can do is be an example And if you're that example, folks, then that is what's going to do it. You're going to save yourself out of these hardships. And in doing so, you're doing your service to the others and your fellows. And that's what it's all about. All right, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.